Well, thank you for your patience. We will now reconvene into open session, and the time is now 7:25. If you would please stand and join us in the pledges of allegiance. Well, welcome again, and thank you all for joining us. I hope you all had a wonderful spring break, or at least the students. You are off. Now we will consider action on items discussed in closed session. Do I have a motion?
President Sheffield, I move to approve all personnel recommendations, including resignations and contract recommendations, as presented by administration.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Hassett. That's a motion by Mr. Miller, second by Ms. Hassett. Any discussion? All those in favor? And that is Ms. Vaughn, Ms. Timish, Ms. Hassett, Ms. Sheffield, Mr. Miller, Ms. Cox. All those opposed? And that's Ms. Latham. All right, moving on. Do I have a motion?
Ms. Sheffield, I would like to make a motion and I didn't get to finish writing my motion, so y'all are going to have to let me fumble through this. Extend Dr. Rogers' contract to a new end date of June 30th, 2021. That handles our legalese. But having completed a successful and satisfactory review of Dr. Rogers' goals and accomplishments for this year, I would like to thank him for his hard work and effort, and we look forward to accomplishing even more goals in the coming years. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ms. Thank you, Ms. Latham. Do I have a second? A second. Oh, thank you, Ms. Vaughn. It's a motion by Ms. Latham and a second by Ms. Vaughn. Any questions, comments? No. All right. All those in favor? And that's unanimous. All right. Moving on to our next item. Do I have a motion?
I move the Board of Trustees authorize the administration to work on the legal counsel to pursue dismissal of the claim filed by James Lockhart in J.P. Court and to pursue or defend, if necessary, any appeal of same.
Thank you, Ms. Hassett. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Latham. Motion by Ms. Hassett, a second by Ms. Latham. Any questions? All those in favor? And that also is unanimous. All right. Well, now on to the fun part. We get to do our recognitions. And we have a full slate tonight. So the first item we have, if I could have Mr. Ball and Mr. Colbeck. You going to introduce? Oh, that's not what's on my thing. Hold on. So Mr. Ball and Mr. Martin.
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Sheffield. It's my privilege to introduce Craig Martin, and while Craig's coming up, if the rest of the purchasing department will come up, our purchasing department has received the Texas Association of School Business Officials award for merit for purchasing operations, and they got a nice write-up in this convention edition of the TASBO report. That's their periodical. And so let me read a little excerpt from that. It says, the TASBO Award of Merit for Purchasing Operations recognizes school districts' achievement in implementing best practices in the area of purchasing. And this is, I don't know exactly how many years consecutively it is, but it's several this is the 8th year. So we're very proud of the work that Craig and the entire purchasing department does, and it was my privilege to be there the night they were awarded the award at the convention, and so they represent the district well. We're real proud of y'all. Thanks for the great work you do.
Good job. All right, so this one is for Mr. Ball and Mr. Colbeck to introduce our next achievement. Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Brian Colbeck. Excuse me. I'm the Executive Director of Technical and Information Services for the school district. And I'm here tonight to recognize Patrick Johnson for being awarded the Technology Administrator of the Year through the Texas Computer Education Association. The Texas Computer Education Association, or TCEA, recognizes individuals for providing excellence in service in the area of technology integration. And in this particular award, they also are recognizing people that have provided excellence in the area of district level vision and technology management. And Patrick is serving, or has been serving, as the manager of infrastructure and is serving as the interim director of technical services. Patrick has played a pivotal role in providing the infrastructure that we need to support our massive one-to-one mobile initiative in the district, as we refer to it as 1-to-X. His vision and leadership has really helped provide the foundation to make that program successful. So with that, congratulations, Patrick, on being awarded the Technology Administrator of the Year.
My dad is here. I'd like you to stand up, Dad. Thank you for being such a great father and giving me the foundation to be a professional person.
Next, if we could invite Coach Ford up to introduce our state UIL wrestling.
We're very blessed in LISD to have some great programs, great athletes, and great coaches. And wrestling is one of those programs. We had 4 teams have individuals that placed at state, and when I introduce each coach, and they'll introduce their athletes. This is from Hebron High School, Coach Rosansky.
First of all, I'd like to thank this great community for all your support all season, and especially at the end here. It's been, great. It's truly, we're truly blessed being in this community. First, I'd like to introduce Jacoby McCray. He took second at state at the wrestling tournament. One thing I'd say about Jacoby is, I'd say from this time last year, he put, everything he could into this season that we just wrestled, and, the results went from a 5th in region last year to 2nd in state, and, I think he was, flattered with the results that we had, and we had a great season. And Jacoby ended up at 41-6 as a record. So, Jacoby McCray. And then Jarrett Lee, this is his 3rd time being at the school board meeting, so, his this is nothing new for him, and, he's a 2-time state champ. His record was 42-1. He's only lost to a state champion this year, who he had beaten also. He had a target on his back all season, and much like Jacoby, he didn't rest on being, state champion, thinking that, that would take him through this season. We just kept working to improve, and, he did, and he got better and better, and he repeated as state champion. So, Jarrett Lee. And then lastly, I'd like the parents of both to stand up, and I thank them for their support also. Thank you.
I want to ask Mr. Finch to
from the Colony, Coach Brown.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. These are our 3 Colony wrestlers who placed at the state tournament this year. First off, I want to say thank you to our parents. I know we have a couple of our parents out here. There they are. And we have our 2 of our administrators here, Mr. Baxter and Coach Rangel, have been fantastic supporters of our program. First one I want to introduce is Josh Matthews. Wave, Josh. There you go. Josh ended up 22-7 this year, and he finished 5th at the state tournament. The interesting thing about that for Josh is in November, Josh dislocated his elbow, and we didn't know if we were going to have Josh back at all. He came back a week before the district tournament, won his 1 match that he had to wrestle that week, came back, finished 3rd at the district tournament, losing to the defending state runner-up, 2-1 in overtime. The next week, he went 5-2 at regionals. He had to wrestle 7 matches at regionals just to qualify for the state tournament. And this is coming back from an injury where they would not let him run, they wouldn't let him work out, and he was struggling. And so, but came back, worked really hard, gets to the state tournament. First round match is against a regional champion. Josh wins that match. Next match against a regional runner-up, wins that match. He's the 4th place kid out of our region. Now he's in the state semifinals. Loses to who ends up winning the state tournament 3-1 in the semifinals. Had a fantastic match. Came back, finished 5th place. So our senior Josh Matthews. Next is Cortez Castellanos. Cortez was 56-4 this year. Had a fantastic record. Last year in January during our Cougar Classic, Cortez tore his knee. We seem to be talking about injuries a lot. I'm sorry. He tears his knee up and comes back strong this year. Had a fantastic season, wins the district title, wins the regional title, is ranked number 2 in the state of Texas, but ends up meeting in the semifinals the number 1 ranked kid in the state of Texas, just how the brackets turned out. Loses a tight match 2-1. Cortez came back and had a fantastic tournament for us, ended up finishing 5th, and we get Cortez back next year. And then the last one we get to talk about tonight is Miss Charlie Hammer. Charlie was 44-2 this year. Last year at this time, she was coming to receive her 6th place medal, and we got to talk about her here at the board meeting, being our first Colony Cougar to be a state placer in girls wrestling. This year we get to talk about her because she's now the state champion. Charlie had a fantastic season. We get to the state final zone. We knew that it was coming, that she was going to face the 4-time defending state finalist, 2-time defending state champion, and last year this girl was a national champion, and Charlie gets to face her in the finals. Charlie's a little nervous, to say the least. But trailing in the match, Charlie went with the plan that we had established early on and ends up turning the girl, pins the girl, and the biggest upset of the tournament. Everybody goes crazy, and there's pictures of me jumping up and down and running of how crazy it was. And so we were super proud of Charlie, of what she accomplished in just her 2nd year of wrestling. And last year at this time, she was also playing soccer for the Cougars as well. So this year she's dedicated herself to wrestling and comes back with a state title, and we get lucky enough that Charlie comes back for us next year as well. And in 2 weeks she'll be competing in the National Folk Style Championships in Oklahoma City. So we'll see if she comes back with another All-American there. So and lastly, because of these 3 young men and young lady, the Colonies had wrestling for 29 years, and this was the first time in school history that we had 3 state placers, so we were very proud of our kids this year. So one more time, if we give their parents a hand and give our kids a hand.
Yeah, ask the parents to stand and be recognized.
If our parents can stand up and be recognized as they take pictures. Mm-hmm.
And from Lewisville, Coach Daniels.
Good evening. I had the opportunity or the pleasure to introduce Jezebel Pardo, senior. I think the funniest story is when we talk about injuries. Her freshman year, her first practice ever, dislocates her hip. I'm thinking, she's done. It's never going to see her again. Bless your heart. Hope you get better soon. But she stays, and she watches, and she learns. Last year, she was a district and regional champion, state qualifier, learned. This year, she went 45-7, district, regional champion, and finished 6th at the state tournament this year. She's looking to go on to college. She's being recruited by 5 colleges now throughout the central United States and in Texas. So we're expecting her to go on and wrestle. When she decides which school, we'll let you all know. But we'd also like to thank her mom, Mrs. Torres. Oh, there she is. She's been very supportive of Jezebel. Also, Mrs. Gore's here as our administrator. So we'd like to thank you all for having us.
All right, and so now we're going to move on to our state UIL swim and dive meet.
Once again, LISD was well represented at the state meet. We have our medalist coming up with Coach Shannon Gillespie from Marcus.
I'd like to present Lauren Savoy. Lauren is your last swimmer to come out of the Timber Creek pool in 2014 as a freshman. She was a member of a record-breaking relay. As a sophomore, she qualified in an individual event and a relay. And this year as a junior, qualified in 2 individual events, 200 free and 500 free. That's 20 laps, folks, up and down. And did a great job. In the 200 freestyle, she was 3rd on the podium with a bronze medal, and she, I believe, 12th in the 500. Yeah, I think. I'm pretty sure. But once again, I've been up here last year and just thanking everyone for the support of the Westside Aquatic Center. So build it, and it'll happen. Thank you. Miss the Savoy family, would you please stand? You've got mom, dad, brother, sister, and Mr. Shaverman.
All right. Next, we'd like to bring up Mr. Watson to introduce our fine arts.
Good evening. This is the one time a year where we have a bunch of people. It's all-state. The all-state band, choir, and orchestra represent less than 0.5% of the people that tried out. and these people made it, and we're going to do it by school. So would like to introduce Steve DeCrow and Kevin Sluter from LHS. Come on up. You're all staters.
This is Rachel Barnett. She's a sophomore and first-time Texas All-Stater and second-generation Texas All-Stater. Mom Barnett.
This is Jordan Stubblefield and Garrett Matthews. They're both juniors, and they're both first-time All-Staters.
I believe we have some of their parents here and administrators. Could you stand, please? Now we'd like to bring up the Marcus High School All-Staters, Miss Drinkwater and Mrs. Washler.
It's an honor to present our All-Staters for this year. Not with us this evening is Besnik Abrashi. He is a junior B-flat clarinet player. To my right here, Cordelia D. Decker. This was her second year in All-State and trumpet player. Emma Edwards, a junior, her second year in All-State horn player. Aiden Hutcherson, this was his first year, a percussion student. Austin Kinder, this was his second year making All-State on the contra bassoon. Quentin Smith, this was his first year making the All-State on English horn, and he earned first chair in the state on that instrument. Congratulations. And also Coy Tran is not here tonight, alto clarinet as well.
And from the string world, we have Holly Noak on violin. She's a first-year All-Stater. And Jaeyoon Cha also on violin, first-year All-Stater.
Could the parents stand, please, and administration come up? All of our All-Staters, all the way back to 1970, are on our website, by the way, and these kids will be joining that tomorrow. This is the Flower Mound High School All-Staters, choir and band, and orchestra. Well, I think our orchestra people aren't here, but, oh, they are here. Cool.
Good evening. I'm Mark Rohr. I'm the Director of Choral Activities at Flower Mound High School. I'm also the Performing Arts Chair, and for about 15 seconds tonight, I will be the Orchestra Director as well. First, First, I want to go ahead and announce the Flower Mound High School All-State Choir members. They are Lizzie Hanna, Jr., Hannah Hayden, Senior, Nick Ramirez, Jr., Jeremy Rohr, sophomore, second-year All-Stater, and Ajay Thate, who couldn't be with us tonight, who is also a junior and is also a second-year All-Stater. Those are our Flower Mound High School All-State Choir members. And these are the All-State Orchestra members. I had a crash course in their names in the hall just a second ago because this is Mr. Klink's domain and he is not here this evening. So let's see how I do. We have in front of us, in no particular order, we have Jeannie Huang. And we have Shalini Namaduri. And we have, like opening the envelope, Yong Ha Jung. And then we have Tyler Jacoby. And then there's one other All-Stater who's not here this evening. Those are the Flower Mound High School All-State Orchestra members.
The band members from Flower Mound High School are Zoe Bixler, first-year member on piccolo, Christine Kim, second-year member on flute, Sarah Hahn, second-year member on flute, Nicole Zhang, first-year member on clarinet, Johnny Chang, third-year member on clarinet, Eric Richter, first-year member on contra clarinet, Kara Lane, first-year member on bassoon, Zachary Lewis, first-year member, second-year member on baritone saxophone, Eric Neer, first-year member on trumpet, Matthew Byrne, first-year member on trumpet, Haley Rand, first-year member on French horn, and Luke Seavey, first-year member on bass trombone.
Could we have their parents and administration stand up, please? Parents? First is our choir members, and this is Rachel Forrester and Nathan Ratliff to present them.
Good evening. First of all, we'd like to thank you again for your support, and we'd like to recognize all of our Hebron parents that are here tonight, both band and choir, if they would stand at this time. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you. Thank you. And now these are the Hebron Choir students for All-State this year. Nicole Lara, third chair women's choir. She's a junior soprano 2. Nicole. Thank you. Next, Courtney Seal, another junior. She was an alto 2 in the women's choir, first chair. Next, Sean Getty was a first chair in the men's choir as a baritone. He also made the All-State musical this year for the state. Next is Laurel Burr, who is a junior at Hebron, alto 1, and was first chair in the mixed choir. Finally is Kaylee Harrell. Kaylee, this is her third trip to All-State. This year, she had a substantial solo in the mixed choir concert. Very proud of her. Soprano 1, mixed choir, Kaylee Harrell, senior. Thank you. Mr. Seeley?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andy Seeley. I'm the band director at Hebron. I want to introduce our All-State students from Hebron. First of all, Miss Nina Kang. Nina plays flute. She's a sophomore, and she was in the symphonic band. This is her first year in the All-State band. Next to Nina is Michelle Mahler. Michelle plays oboe. She's a junior. This is her second year in the All-State band, and she was first chair overall in the whole schmear on oboe. Way to go, Michelle. This is Cody Harrington. Cody's a junior. He plays bassoon. This is his first year in All-State, and he was in the symphonic band. Next young lady is Kelly Weaver. Kelly plays clarinet. She's a junior as well. This was her first year in All-State, and she was first chair E-flat soprano in the All-State band. Next young lady is Soyeon Shin. Soyeon is a senior. She plays clarinet. She was in the symphonic band, and Soyeon has the very distinct and rare honor of being a 4-year All-State band member. Congratulations, Soyeon. Next gentleman is Dylan Hong. Dylan is a senior. He plays alto saxophone, and Dylan was also first chair in the whole state when it came down to it. Dylan, congratulations. This is Noah Kahn. Noah is a senior. He plays tenor saxophone, and he was in the symphonic band, and this is his first year in All-State. This is Colin Staud. Colin is a French horn player. He is a 3-year All-State band member, and he was also first chair in the whole schmear in the symphony orchestra. And our last member is Michael Clements. Michael is a senior. He's a tuba player. This was his first year in the All-State band, and he was also in the top band. Congratulations, Michael. And also introduce our other staff member that's here this evening. This is Mr. Travis Pruitt. Travis is new to us this year, but we drug him along anyway. Travis, thank you for your time.
We have one more sort of All-Stater. Mr. Seeley was up here a couple of years ago for being band chair, and he got elected by all the band membership, and he has just been elected president-elect, which will be president after this next year, and then past president, and that's by all the elementary teachers, the orchestra, the choir, and the band directors. So we have the head of TMEA in our school district. So congratulations to Mr. Seeley. Picture.
All right. Next up, we want to recognize our academic decathlon students. So the academic decathlon coaches will come forward and we'll let you introduce your kids.
Hi, I'm Julie Tipton from Flower High School, and just a little bit about academic decathlon. For those of you who don't know, a lot of people think it's similar to UIL, and it is, but it's not. So our students have 10 different events. It is a decathlon. They take 7 multiple choice tests over the course of 2 days, and then also have to give a prepared speech, an impromptu speech, write an essay, and be interviewed by judges. So it is a very intense competition. Every student participates in all the different events. So I'm excited to introduce to you our bronze medalist in literature. This is Garrett Gant. Garrett's parents, Floyd and Pam, thank you, Pamela, went blank for a second, are here tonight, and he is our state medalist for Flower Mound High School.
I'm Kelly Sutterth. I'm with Marcus High School, and this is Douglas Robinson. He won a silver medal in science with a score of 980 out of 1,000 points. So we're very proud of him. And his mom and dad are Dell and Paula. And I also had another one that's not here tonight, Mina Fleming, who got a bronze in science.
Hello, my name is Richard Solstead. I'm the coach at the Colony High School, and we have 2 medalists at state. One of them could not be here today, DeQuay Glasgow, which is kind of ironic because he got a gold medal at state in speech, so he should be the one doing this. But then I also have Megan Burns. She got a bronze medal in music, and so we're very, very proud of her over at the Colony.
Okay, and I'm going to announce one student that couldn't be here that represents Hebron High School. Caitlin Westbrook got a gold medal in speech, so congratulations to her.
All right, thank you so much. Well, normally at this time we hear requests to address the board, but tonight we had no one that wanted to come talk to us. So we will move on into our information items. These are items that are coming to the board, some for information only. Some of these will move into our 3-step process of discussion and then action. And so we will start off tonight with Dr. Brockman and the strategic design update.
Thank you very much. I would like to introduce Ms. Pam Flores and her Fighting Farmers from LHS Kilo that are joining her in her presentation this evening.
Push the button.
There you go. Are we better? Good evening, Dr. Rogers, Ms. Sheffield, and the school board. Thank you for having us. We wanted to share a little good news from LHS Kilo and about your farmers. Strategic design, when you look at strategic design and what's going on at our school, we try to embed it in everything we do. We involve our community. We want students to be engaged and have a voice in their school. And the kids planned every part of this presentation. So when we looked at what visual did we want to represent, we wanted to represent our farmer as a graduate. And we wanted to talk tonight. We have 3 awesome teachers that are going to share some things going on in the classes. We have 2 students that are going to represent KIDC, and they're going to talk about things at our school where they are learning in a profound way and where they're challenged every day and where the work they're doing is meaningful and relevant to their lives. And then we have a little data to support what we're doing, and hopefully I think that's the question everyone asks. Is strategic design working? Is it making a difference? If you'll notice, the rock at the bottom is probably what we pride ourselves on. Whenever we ask teachers what's the best thing we do, and whenever we ask kids what's the best thing we do, block lunch is always right up there, and the block lunch and teachers and the people in the building. So we think everything we do is built on the relationships we have between each other, adults with kids, and us with the community. So I think we're going to start with Mr. Hawk, and he's going to talk about creative work and giving his kids the option to have a voice and choice in what they do.
Hey, I'm Samuel Hawk, and I teach geometry. In geometry, one of our biggest topics is triangles and everything to do with them, from lengths of sides to measurements of angles. You can see the teaks up there now. This topic, angles and sides, are tied together in a broader topic called trigonometry. In order to make this topic a little bit more real world and incorporate some problem solving, I built what you might call a maze. The students in teams of 4 had to program a robot called a Sphero to navigate its way through this course. And I say program and not drive because the Sphero doesn't just obey commands like go forward 3 feet and then turn left. You have to tell it precisely what angle to turn at, exactly how fast you want it to go, and how long to run in milliseconds. And I didn't just tell them exactly what to do, right? There's multiple ways of going about this. I only told them where to start, where to finish, and to not cross any lines. The math required was intense but engaging. All in all, this project incorporated problem solving, programming, and a robot. Next up, we got Ms. Jennings.
Hi. I teach English too. I taught the GT class, which has been one of the all-time favorites of my career. So thank you for doing that. As a new teacher to the district, I didn't know anything about the GT audit. But when I saw that my class was coded as GT, I thought, here's a class where I can really run with student ideas, and I did just that. We were going to write an essay, and I came to them and I said, we have 3 options over here that we can write about, or we have this one that you talked about yesterday and you were highly engaged with. You can write about that. And they didn't even ask what these 3 options were. They said, let's go with the one that we were talking about yesterday. Very impromptu, which turned into a PBL for us. And through that process, the question we talked about was, should working students have federal withholdings held from their paycheck if they're working to pay family bills? So through that, we learned a lot about the processes of research, of writing, of revising, as well as real-world skills on collaboration, critical thinking, accepting and applying criticism, as well as community-mindedness. I think our success and engagement could not have been what it was without the community impact of 2 people. One was Ms. Cox, who was instrumental in getting us an audience with local legislatures, so thank you for that effort. And a second was Stephen Davidson, who mentored the students and then elicited recognition for their efforts from Vice President Biden. After each presentation, they were invigorated, and they're like, what is next? And so through this whole process, they learned that they have power and choice, and they were empowered to want to go do more. So thank you.
Good evening. My name is Eric Champion. I teach Art 1 and Drawing 2. As an art teacher, I am blessed with a question that comes up all the time. How do I draw a hippo? And my students aren't really asking, how do you draw a hippo? What they're really asking is a gift that you gave them. How can I experience something that is outside of the 4 walls of my classroom? You gave them an iPad and a robust network, and you said, go. They don't know how to see these things because we're in little boxes, but you gave them a window out of the box. Thank you for that. Thank you, thank you. We do all kinds of things with our iPads. We use them every day. We use them to look at documents. We use them to find pictures, take pictures, share pictures, edit pictures, research pictures. We use them to make movies. We use them to communicate with other schools. We did a program with Valley Ridge Elementary, collaborative thing. It was great. It was awesome. But sharing documents is not only what the technology is for. Our students' networked minds, this is the key thing, and us being able to engage those is part of it. We also participate not only with 1 to X, but with 21st century learning. We must teach our young people how to use these devices. Right now, you could be on your cell phone, but you're not. Why? Because you've been learned in somewhere along the way that this is not, there's an appropriate time and a place for this, not now. We teach that every single day in class, implicitly and explicitly. It is not just the fact that we teach them, hey, look, don't look at a dirty picture on the internet, or don't do this. It is that we tell them there's a time and a place for this. You need these skills. More information coming from cool people that are better than all of us. This is Safal and Jose. They are from the Kilo Innovation Design Council. You'll see.
Ladies Ladies and gentlemen of the school board, Dr. Rogers, Mrs. Sheffield, thank you for having us this evening. At LHS Kilo, there's an organization called KIDC, the Kilo Innovation Design Council. KIDC implements the ideas set by the strategic design in our school. By meeting with our school principal, Mrs. Flores, and other school administrators, we emphasize these ideas set by strategic design and the idea of student voice. Strategic design is indeed alive and well in our school. At this time, other members of the KIDC would like to share the values that we truly hold dear to our hearts at Kilo.
Heard. Family.
Respect.
Involvement. Yes. Freedoms. Fair. Engagement.
Out of all of these values that we truly hold dear to our hearts, there are three that we hold very critical. The first of these is the idea of the context of a bigger picture, of a blueprint to be prepared for life. KIDC prepares us for life. In the application process, there's an interview involved that prepares us for the professional interviews we'll encounter when we apply for scholarships, when we encounter employment opportunities in the future. In KIDC, we also learn collaboration skills and problem-solving skills as we work with teachers and students and our peers to solve real-life issues that affect our school. A big emphasis is placed on organization in Kilo. Organization, as you know, is one of the key traits of a successful person. We have speakers come in for Career Cafe, and they inform the students on what they can do in high school to achieve the goals that they have in life, what they can do to achieve that goal. We also have several different resources where we are informed on real-life issues. We become more informed and better citizens of the world. We have speakers come in and talk about how to improve personal health. We have advisory videos that talk about the prevention of the flu virus, how to prevent sunburns during the summer. And we have various different videos that really teach us how to prepare for life in general, not just college, but life. And it's not just Kilo that emphasizes this idea of the context of a bigger picture. It's also the whole triad, the LHS triad, and its feeder schools, as we saw with the What's Your Plan night that we had just a couple weeks ago. Lastly, block lunch at Kilo. We learn time management skills where we have to juggle tutorials, clubs and organizations, and lunch, of course. And it's all the organizations that we have at our school are possible because of student organization, and it wouldn't be possible if we didn't have student voice present in our school.
Student voice is an extremely important aspect of any high school, and we can see it all throughout LHS. I mean, look at our student section at Battle of the Axe. It's completely blacked out. It looks amazing. But tonight, I'm going to focus in on LHS Kilo. At LHS Kilo, we have many different parts of our school where you can see student voice. For instance, BLT, the Building Leadership Team. In the Building Leadership Team, students work with teachers, they converse, and they bounce ideas off of each other so that we can further our school from the inside. As Jose mentioned earlier, we have KIDC, which is another example of student voice in our school. Last year, with KIDC, we went to the superintendent search, in which we gave qualities that we would like to see in our next superintendent. Dr. Rogers, we're so glad to have you here tonight. But organizations are not the only way that student voice is shown at LHS Kilo. We have surveys as well. Teachers will give the students surveys on what students would like to see more of or less of in their surveys. And the best thing about this is that the teachers actually respond to what the students say. For instance, we have Mr. Jackson in his AP Biology class in the Learning Lounge. He had asked us in one of his surveys, do you think that taking a class in the Learning Lounge would benefit your learning? A majority of the class replied yes, so what he did was host a biology play in the Learning Lounge. And might I also mention that that everything down to the fabric on the sofas in the Learning Lounge was designed by students themselves. But none of this would be possible without a powerful connection between students and teachers, and we have that at Kilo. At Kilo, we are a family. Everything from Farmer Fest, which according to the teachers requires a bunch of trust because you're basically giving a whole lot of high schoolers a field day, which you rarely see in any high schools, if you do see it anywhere. To our student versus faculty basketball, dodgeball, and volleyball games. This shows that our connection between students and teachers is not only educational, but it's also fun. Whenever you walk into Kilo, you'll see quotes, posters on the wall that teach us about life, how to get to your goals, and how to exceed them. These create a very at-home feel so that whenever you're inside Kilo, you feel like you are at home and you're with your family. All in all, the connection between students and teachers at Kilo is truly unique.
So when we look at strategic design, we pulled a few things that we think helps us measure are we being successful at Kilo. When you look at kids' grades, across the state of Texas, the average passing rate for kids passing all their classes is between 75 and 80%. Our kids are passing. It astounds me as a principal that they keep getting higher, actually. And they've passed it. 97% of our kids pass in all their classes, both 9 weeks this year, when we average about 50% with A's and B's, which is incredibly high in the state of Texas. And that's because they work hard. But I also think the more kids feel loved and involved and engaged, and they're doing projects like y'all talked about, the higher they perform. Of course, their star in the state of Texas, it's always is going to be there and measure part of our success. We remain at the top of our campus group. We've received near all of our distinctions every year and outperformed the state in all of the tests. We do the Gallup, as y'all know, in Lewisville. I wanted to share this chart because the kids picked out questions that they thought directly went back to strategic design and what we try to do. And so we have Kilo's results, the district results in the United States. LHS Kilo is in the top quarter of the nation for student engagement 2 years ago. And that's impressive, and I don't think that happens by accident. What kids are talking about, getting to choose their projects and not just doing a robot, but having to program it down to, I didn't even know all the details of that hawk. That was impressive. And, of course, looking up the hippos, very, very important. So I love that, we're highest in many ways in how to solve problems that I know adults care about me. In the next one's perfect. Just looking at engagement, last year's student engagements in the maroon is the first column. This year went from 54 to 61. And every year it's gone up, and it's been around 54% of kids highly engaged. This year it took a big jump. We don't have the staff yet. I asked Mr. Bonner even today, do we happen to have it? I know it's not coming out till April. But I believe that the more engaged teachers are, the more engaged kids are going to be. And I think that's a direct correlation. I went ahead and put the 67 on the right, the black column there. That's what Gallup, when we met with them, said only 13% of companies in the nation have 67 or more percent of their employees truly engaged. And at Kilo, to have 61% of your kids highly engaged and are anxiously awaiting the staff, that's amazing. That they really, really love where we are, and we do. Now, we know all this is true, and the kids have talked. We made this, we clipped down the video just a little bit, and the last two things are really special to end our presentation for y'all tonight. We made this for open house for our parents when we surveyed the kids and surveyed the parents. And it might not work, and that's okay. These are actually my two favorite girls. They're in our AVLS class and what they say about our school. And then the last slide, the last kid says they treat us like we're their children. And I think that's just very true. So when you talk about what does strategic design look like, is it going to come up? And that's okay. What does strategic design look like at Kilo? It looks like loving our kids, It looks like engagement. It looks like great teachers like these three. I could have chosen many more. They probably couldn't have surpassed these three because we know, pretty amazing. But great teachers combined with great kids and combined with a great community. And that's partly really thanks to what y'all do every day, and we appreciate that. But alive and well and trying to make you proud. So really nice job, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So could someone send us that video so we can see it? And this is obviously an information item only, but I didn't know if anybody has any questions for the students or teachers or anybody? Mr. Miller?
Well, that was one of the better presentations we've had on strategic design because you hit on not only the things that create connection with the students and the staff, but you had some measurable things in there. And often we hear, well, we can't measure this or that, but you actually applied that to it, and really appreciate what you guys are doing. And you guys, the students, thank you. This is where strategic design starts to become real to us, and we can see the results. And you guys really did a great job. Thank you.
Ms. Latham?
Well, I would like to say thank you for an engaging presentation, because we get a lot of boring ones. So I greatly appreciate the engaging presentation. But I would also like to say I hear a lot, the 6 years that I've been on the board, that when you see students that are engaged and on fire, then you've got teachers that are engaged and on fire. And if you've got teachers that are engaged and on fire, then you've got a principal that's engaged and on fire and that truly loves her staff and her students. So phenomenal job. And I expect 67% out of the farmers. So keep it up.
All right, anyone else? All right. Great job. And thank you so much. You've set the bar high for the rest of the presentations tonight. All right, next up, Dr. Rogers, board meeting dates.
Luckily, I don't have a presentation, but you do have in front of you a recommendation for board meeting dates for next year, and you can see there were 3 changes from our normal second Monday due to a holiday, spring break, and then the election. So we're recommending those dates.
All right, thanks, and this will be back for action later on. Next up, Ms. Rapp, pre-kinder.
Yes, thank you, Madam President and Dr. Rogers and members of the board. While we do not have students tonight, so we'll be a little hard to follow Kilo. We have 2 amazing leaders from learning and teaching that I'm excited to share with you. Miss Adrienne Gall is going to start us off about our pre-kindergarten programs, and then Miss Kathy Hawley is going to follow her.
Great, thank you. Good evening. It's so nice to be here in front of you to talk about pre-kinder. I guarantee we wouldn't have bored you if we had 3- and 4-year-olds up here, but they're a little bit harder to control than those high schoolers. So we wanted to give you a portrait of pre-kindergarten in LISD and some overviews of what we're required to do, and what we can move into later is sharing with you what we actually do and how it's benefiting the students that we serve in LISD. So background information for you, Texas Education Code does ask that we offer pre-kindergarten if we have 15 or more eligible 4-year-olds. We shall offer that. That are eligible. We may offer it to 3-year-olds if we have 15 or more that are eligible, and we are able to do that. And we do that on a half-day program for those students who are eligible. Those who are eligible include those unable to speak or comprehend English, or English language learners, educationally disadvantaged through economics, homelessness, and dependent on military personnel on active duty, or someone that's been injured or killed on active duty. Some additional background information for you. The districts may charge tuition funds or use district funds to provide an additional half day of pre-K for those students who are eligible, or even for those who are not eligible in a half day or full day pre-kindergarten setting, and we have that opportunity as well. So we do think pre-K makes a huge difference, and a lot of the research does show that the increased achievement is especially high among those low-income families and minority children, and those significant gains are specifically in the areas of early language literacy and math. And so we want to share with you what we do in LISD, and that's why Kathy Hawley, who is our early childhood administrator, is here to share with you tonight. Okay.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to share about our program tonight. We're going to look a little bit deeper into the actual participants, the focus, and the impact of pre-kindergarten in LISD. As Mrs. Gall explained, state statute requires the provision of pre-kindergarten for the 4-year-olds meeting the criteria shown here. In addition, the district extends pre-kindergarten participation in 2 different ways. One, those parents whose children are eligible for that free half day can pay tuition for their children to stay the remainder of the day, or families whose children are not eligible can pay for their children to attend also. We do offer a variety of half day, full day, and extended day options that are funded by tuition. Also, the district also has a program referred to as the preschool program for children with disabilities. It serves children of the same age. Those children often participate in the same classrooms as our pre-kindergarten children. So again, the classrooms that you see as pre-kindergarten are often made up of a wide range of students who meet different eligibility to be there. We're going to take a look at how many students are actually in LISD pre-kindergarten. It's one of our fastest growing programs in the state, or in the district anyway. The state started funding pre-kindergarten in 1984. Lewisville ISD began opening it in 2004 due to the changing demographics at that time. The enrollment has tripled since then, and now we have more than 1,600 children benefiting from the program. We want to look too at how the makeup of those children are. About 2/3 of them are actually students who were 4 years old on or before September 1st, and about 1/3 are 3-year-olds. We also can look at the eligibilities of those pre-kindergarten students. About 57% of them are eligible because they meet 2 criteria. They are economically disadvantaged and English language learners. So you can see that is by far the largest group of students that are participating in our program. Of course, those are 2 of the student groups that come out as somewhat of concern on our accountability system as well. So again, more than half of the students are both economically disadvantaged and English learners. We have pre-kindergarten programs around the district. Many of the children do attend at Lily Jackson Early Childhood Center, but you will see we also have it at 16 elementary schools as well. They're generally located at campuses in areas where there are a high number of students who were likely to be eligible for pre-K. The exceptions are McAuliffe and Hebron Valley, which began primarily as tuition programs targeting children of LISD employees. You can see from this graphic that the majority of the students, the vast majority, are attending just the half-day program that is funded through the state. We do receive half-day funding from the state for all children who meet those eligibility criteria. In addition, for those who are paying an additional part of the day, or for those who do not meet eligibility criteria, we do receive tuition funds from their families to subsidize that endeavor. The instruction that you would see in the pre-kindergarten classroom really sets them on a good path for those kinds of learning that you saw the students do earlier. We have the pre-kindergarten guidelines from the state, which are basically the state standards. They focus on things such as social-emotional development. For example, it's just beginning a pre-kindergarten day. The children need to learn how to participate as learners. To be part of that, the teachers combined it with the idea of technology, and they sent out tweets about what it meant to be a pre-kindergartner. How does one behave in pre-kindergarten? They also learned to read things like classroom schedules, as you see here, which in addition to teaching them the routine of the day is teaching them top to bottom, left to right, which they'll need to know as they read. Much of the time is spent on language and literacy development. Oral language is particularly important for our children who come to us as second language learners, but we want to expand the vocabulary of all of our children before we move into letters and sounds, print awareness, and early writing experiences. They also spend a lot of time with math and science learning, again, very much a hands-on experience as the children learn about numbers, geometry, measurements, animals, plants, and motion. The arts are an important part of the day, as well as movement experiences. In addition to developing more body coordination through activities like this, they're also learning to follow directions and learning position words as the skills are integrated together. Now, the pre-kindergarten students are not taking STAR or iStation or those standardized tests, but we do gather a lot of information through authentic assessments. There are hands-on activities in math. Can you count? Can you retell the story of the 3 little little pigs. Can you write your name legibly? Those are some of the measures that are used. The teachers also use assessments developed by the district and the Children's Learning Institute's progress monitoring, known as CIRCLE, that is used for comparing with other districts as well. Does pre-K make a difference in LISD? We do believe that it does. In 2014, the Hanover Research Institute did a study looking at the progress of our students who had participated in pre-kindergarten. They saw that on the 3rd and 4th grade STAR test, those students scored between 2.2 and 2.6% higher than those who could have attended but did not. Likewise, and that was in math. Likewise, in reading, there was an increase among the students who had attended pre-kindergarten compared to those who did not. And again, those are comparing the student groups that the pre-K students were from. The greatest differences were, once again, among those who are economically disadvantaged students. And so we realized that this is an intervention that we can provide at an early age for our students. Both the state-eligible pre-kindergarten and tuition-funded pre-kindergarten do return revenue to the general fund. So in addition to having some academic benefit, it also has some financial benefit as it returns money to the general fund. So it's a good investment all the way around for our district. We want to think about what does the future hold for pre-kindergarten. Right now, registration is underway for 2016-2017. We are seeking ways to reach the estimated 1,400 eligible students who are not yet participating. We come up with that number by looking at the number of economically disadvantaged and limited English students who are in kindergarten, comparing with those who actually participate in pre-kindergarten. We're also considering right now the application for the House Bill 4 High Quality Grant Program, which was approved by the state legislature last year. The application and information just came out right before spring break, and so staff is reviewing that information right now. I know I've packed a lot into a very short amount of time, but are there any questions?
Ms. Hassett?
You're trying to gain 1,400 more students for the pre-K program next year?
Well, we just know that they are out there and they are not participating. We will not get them all for next year. I wish I could say that we would, but we know that they are out there and are not yet participating.
How many, do you have a guesstimate as to how many you might get out of that 1,400 while you're pursuing it?
Maybe a couple hundred, okay. Something like that, yes.
Any other questions? Ms. Cox? Ms. Cox?
Can you explain the IEPs and how those assessments are done?
Yes, and actually that is a program that is run through the special education department, so it's not really under my authority or my jurisdiction, whatever, but basically those assessments are completed by diagnosticians and other special education staff. They have to have parent permission to do those assessments. Many of the students who come in with an IEP, the individual education plan, are referred to us through the Early Childhood Intervention Program of the state, which serves birth to 3, but then we also get referrals just from parents when the children are school age, or they come from the pre-K teachers themselves.
Okay, thank you.
That is a slightly different program, though, that we just collaborate a lot.
Okay.
All right.
Mr. Miller?
This is great information. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, and I think it helps us as we start looking at more aggressively closing the achievement gap. And along those lines, while there's pressure from the governor, and this is a pretty popular thing to talk about and providing funding for it, one of the unfunded mandates with this type of program, whether parents pay for it or it comes as a subsidy through some other venue, is that we have to provide facilities because nobody gives us money for that. So I'm just curious, if, out of the 1,400, if you get another 200, is that kind of load balanced across those different schools? I mean, yeah.
Probably so. It would work out. The classes that we have right now, not all of them are full, because we have been able to locate in various locations. If one class is full, we can send them, a mile or two down the road, and they are able to participate there. We are not anticipating asking for additional staff or anything like this at this point. Every year we know that there are 1,400 more, and as the district grows and this demographic grows, there are always another 1,400, that are out there. So, while I would love to say yes, we're going to get them all in, I do not not realistically think that will happen. When we survey parents of children who did not participate in the program, it comes down to two reasons why they do not participate. Their primary reasons are that it is not a full-day program, and working parents need a full-day program. The second one is lack of transportation. We do not provide bus transportation for children in pre-kindergarten. Those are the two reasons that most parents, those are the most common reasons that parents give.
So you mentioned that we have some programs that are tuition-based only. How do you make the decisions about where to place those? And I mean, how is that? How do we make those determinations? I would say
we only have two that are tuition only right now. One is at Hebron Valley, which began many years ago before I was in this position as an employee child care location, and so it continues in that vein. The same thing is at McCullough. A few years ago we looked at, because of the interest of parents in the West Zone, to have a program that catered to them in that area, and so Ms. Mattingly at McCullough was very interested in hosting it, at that location. So that is why it's there. And again, we give priority to LISD employees in placement in those, but then we will open up to the general public, after that point. But it generally happens that both of those are filled with employees.
All right, thank you. Mm-hmm. Oh, Mr. Miller. Oh, yes, could you send us a copy of that for the board, the presentation to the board?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, we'd be happy to do that.
All right, thank you.
All right,
thanks so much.
We do have a few principals who are here representing schools that have pre-K programs, so I just wanted to make sure we mentioned that.
Okay, great.
We couldn't do it without them. Go ahead, stand up.
Thanks so much. All right, next, Dr. Brockman, our summer hours.
This is an information-only item. It comes to the board about this time every year regarding summer schedule for June and July. For 8 weeks, beginning June 6th, the LISD hours will be 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and we'll close district offices on Fridays. So Monday through Thursday, closed on Friday. So the first Friday close will be June 10th. And then regular hours will resume that first week in August and back 5 days a week.
Thank you. Are there any questions? This is information only. Okay, thank you. All right, next we're moving into our discussion items. Mr. Ball, you want to kick us off?
Thank you, Ms. Sheffield, members of the board, Dr. Rogers. It's my pleasure to fill in the gap for the boring presentations, if that's okay. We do have the financial statements before you, and I think, as always, our accounting and budget staff do a great job putting these together. I think the couple of things of note as we look at the January 31 financial statement is that the property tax payment deadline, which is January 31, fell on a weekend this year. And so the statutory deadline then became the first business day in February. So if you compare these January statements to prior year statements, you may notice that the collections are probably down, and that's because many of those collections became February transactions. So in case anybody's making that comparison, I think it's noteworthy to be aware of that difference. So I think as we look at the February report, we'll see a much closer comparison to what if you're comparing the 2 years. And then, of course, the state revenues that you see there, a pretty good variance there, and that's because those are we record those on the cash basis, and that's based on the state's payment schedule. And so other than that, I think the statements were on track to be fairly consistent with our budget, and I will defer the comment about the Child Nutrition Fund to the next item so that we don't get over into that item. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Any questions? Yes, Ms. Cox.
Mr. Ball, when do you feel like most of the tax revenue is in?
Well, normally it goes, the bulk of it in a normal year would be collected by January 31, but because the deadline fell in February this year, I think when we get the February report, we'll be back on track. But you'll see collections go all the way through August 31 in any typical year. And looking back today, as a matter of fact, I had the occasion to look back historically, and for the last 10 years, we have not had a collection rate below 99%. And last year, for the fiscal year ended August 31, 2015, those collections actually were just a hair over 100% because we collected more delinquent taxes than what the levy actually was that year. So I think we're on track. We certainly don't see any indication to believe that we're not on track to have a typical year, which would be at least 99%.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you, Mr. Ball. Well, so let's talk child nutrition.
Okay, this item, there are really four things to talk about, and I'll talk about three of them, and then the Aramark folks have a little presentation to give us just based on kind of a 2015-16 annual report. But the things we have to talk about are really have to do with the financial report. If you'll see on the Child Nutrition Fund in the financial statements, we budgeted, when we adopted the budget this year with a deficit of $1.7 million. And so the fact that we're going to have a deficit really isn't any surprise. And as I've told a couple of trustees individually, that this is not a cause for alarm. The Child Nutrition Fund is in great shape. It's well managed. Aramark does a good job of managing the program for us. The reason we have a deficit is because 4 or 5 years ago, the Child Nutrition Fund, the fund balance in that fund was above what the federal and state regulations allow in that fund. So a decision was made to be a little more aggressive in charging legitimate items such as utilities, maintenance costs, and similar type expenses to allocate those out of the general fund and charge them to the Child Nutrition Fund. And the goal there was to reduce the fund balance. Well, that goal has been accomplished. And so I think where we find ourselves this year is later in the fiscal year, we don't want to have to do this twice, and we don't want to have to transfer more than is necessary. So as we approach the end of the fiscal year, we will come to the board with a recommendation to transfer funds from the general fund to the Child Nutrition Fund so that we don't end the year with a deficit fund balance, which would be a regulatory issue that we don't want. And so our current estimate is that amount would be somewhere in the neighborhood of $1.7 million. And as I said, that's really not an indication that there's a problem with the Child Nutrition Fund. It's just the fact that we've been aggressive and we've accomplished what we set out to do. The second thing is that as we look at the subsequent year, the 16-17 school year, the USDA has a requirement that we use a meal price equity tool. And so we have to do that every year, and that tool is indicating that we need to have a price increase. And so the recommendation that will be before the board next month, actually, will be to increase the meal prices by 15 cents. And again, that is the result of the meal price equity, which is a tool that the purpose of that tool is to ensure that districts are not subsidizing the families that can afford to pay for lunch with the free and reduced reimbursements that the federal government passes through the Texas Department of Agriculture to us. And so they require each district to utilize that tool. And so the recommendation that'll be before the board in April will be to increase the meal prices by 15 cents. And we anticipate that will bring in about $287,000 in additional revenue. The other thing that will be an action item that we'll be recommending to the board in April will be that the Aramark contract be extended for another year, and that paperwork on that would be due to, or is due to, the Texas Department of Agriculture by the last day of April. And so at the April regular meeting, you can expect to hear our recommendation from us that that we extend that contract with Aramark for another year. As a part of that process, we've negotiated with Aramark. Their typical arrangement with the district has been that they guarantee a return to our fund of $1.5 million. And that's, of course, only those items that they have discretion over, which is basically food cost and labor cost, and their administrative costs. And so the items that have caused the deficit are the things that we have made the decision to charge to that program. So we have negotiated an increase to that amount of about a third of the new revenues that would be resultant from the recommended price increase that the board will be considering in April. So their guaranteed amount that will be in the contract renewal for the board's consideration in April would be $1,595,000. So they've increased their guarantee amount by $95,000. So the three things that will be before the board, two of those will be in April, and the third one probably later in the year, and that is the estimated cure for the budget deficit, which we anticipate right now to be about $1,700,000, the price increase of 15 cents, and then the renewal of the Aramark contract. And then with that said, the fourth thing to hear tonight is the report from Aramark, and I'll admit I've probably stolen a little bit of her thunder, but Alicia Jordan is coming forward to make that presentation. Alicia she's filling in for Gina Ratnayaki, who is out on maternity leave, and so Alicia's been kind enough she actually works in Crowley as her main role right now, but she's coming over here a couple of days a week to help us in Gina's absence, and so I'll let Alicia give the PowerPoint presentation, and then we'll certainly be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Thank you, Mr. Ball. Good evening, Mrs. Sheffield, members of the board, and Dr. Rogers. I'm here to, as Mr. Ball said, to give the annual report for Aramark's Child Nutrition Department here in Lewisville ISD. First off, I always like to start in the numbers. I'm kind of a statistics kind of girl. We serve in Lewisville ISD over 8.5 million meals a year. That's about 500,000 a day. It includes 1.7 million breakfasts as well as 4.2 million lunches. So quite a few students are served by our Child Nutrition Department. We provide over 500 jobs to child nutrition employees, and we're one of the top 5 departments within Lewisville ISD. As well as Aramark has partnered with Lewisville ISD for over 15 years. So we really thank you and appreciate that partnership. With our focus on the food, we consistently drive participation by focusing on the food. We do that by offering fresh fruits and vegetables daily at every meal period. We also participate in the National School Lunch Program, the School Breakfast Program, and the After School Snack Program. We also like to feature name brand ingredients to include Tyson Chicken, Kellogg's, General Mills, Yoplait, Heinz, and also Kraft. We also love to engage with the students. We do this by our Little Chefs program, which we had a student recipe contest this year that engaged our students in creating some fun recipes that we're able to feature on our menus. We also partnered with the National Food Day, where we had smoothie creations and nutrition games with the students. And we also had a curriculum night where we had a chocolate creation demo as well as tasting. So we were able to explain how chocolate's made from the bean all the way to what we eat and like to have at home. With Aramark, we also provide specialized training for all of our staff members. We have an executive chef, which I'm sure y'all are all aware of, Chef Robbie, on staff to provide those scheduled trainings within culinary techniques, garnishing. We also focus on occupational safety with our staff. That focuses on equipment operations and injury prevention, as well as marketing and merchandising. We want to make students eat with their eyes, and so we want to make sure that all of our food looks and tastes appealing. Just some of the financials that Mr. Ball had already touched on. This current school year, 15-16, we have a projected revenue of $21.5 million, and We have a projected contracted expenses of 19.9.5. Our guaranteed return this current year is 1.5, and next year we're projecting, or on our renewal budget, it will be 1.595. Again, as Mr. Ball covered, based on the paid lunch equity tool, we're recommending a 15-cent increase in paid lunch prices. This is just for lunch. Breakfast will stay the same, which brings lunch for paid students at elementary level $2.50 and at secondary level $2.75. Free and reduced, or the reduced prices are 30 cents and 40 cents respectively, and those are set by the USDA, so there will not be an increase there. That's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Ms. Miller, Ms. Miller, Ms. Latham.
It's been a long night for Miss Sheffield. So, this may really be for Mr. Ball, but with a 15-cent increase, that's looking to generate another $1.2 million. And Aramark's guarantee is going to remain $1.5 million?
No, ma'am. The 15-cent price increase, I probably didn't do a good job of communicating that. The 15-cent price increase is anticipated to bring in additional revenues of about $287,000. And we have asked them to increase their guarantee amount by about a third of that, which is an additional $95,000. And the reason for that is because in order for them, the labor is one of the items that they manage, and so we've got to leave them some room for any salary increase that the board may consider this summer as a part of the compensation plan.
Okay.
Ms. Cox.
So will the 15 cent, as the government continues to make mandates on food, will this be enough to cover some of the coming forth mandates?
We have to reevaluate that every school year. Next year, I don't think that it might be 5 cents next year, but we hope that it'll cover for the next year as well.
Mr. Miller?
I think you mentioned that the reduced is 30 cents and 40 cents. That is that's the subsidy, or is that what the lunch costs?
That's what the lunch costs to
Okay,
those
so
students.
it's reduced lunches, not the free. And the free, which we get money for, would we get compensated based on our price increase, or does the Fed just establish a number that they give us? And
The federal government establishes a set number, and every school district receives the same amount.
okay, do we, or Mr. Balder, do we lose money on free and subsidized lunches, or do the prices that we have get covered by the?
Well, the intent of the program is that that we would not lose money, but that we would not make a lot of money either. That's the purpose of this paid lunch equity tool, to ensure that districts are not using the reimbursements for the free and reduced students to subsidize those, and in other words, have a lower paid lunch price because we were making money on the free and reduced. So I think the answer to your question is yes. That's one of the tasks that we give to Aramark, is to ensure that they control the food costs and the labor costs so that we are at least breaking even on the reimbursement rates from the free and reduced lunches, or free and reduced meals, actually.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you so much. So, Mr. Ball, you still get to talk. Refunding.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sheffield. This item, as John Martin is here, as Mr. Martin makes his way to the microphone, I'll kind of give a brief summary of the item that's before the board tonight. Really, this is an information item, and Mr. Martin will give a brief outline of basically the calendar of events that we would anticipate following as we have this opportunity to do a refunding. But there's a couple of things that I would want to point out is that this is a planned transaction. If you recall, when we developed the budget for the debt service fund for the current year, and as well as in the discussions surrounding the establishment of the tax rate, you recall that the board set the debt service tax rate at a level that created a little bit of extra collections this year that we could use in this refunding transaction to accomplish some principal reduction at the same time that we are taking advantage of lower interest rates. And that amount is about $7.25 million that we believe will be available to reduce principal in this refunding transaction. And then the other thing that really doesn't have a lot to do with the refunding, but I think it's worthy of mention at every opportunity, and that is the position that the district is in terms of its debt portfolio. That if you look at our audit report, our comprehensive annual financial report for the year ended August 31, 2015, you'll note that all of the existing debt that the district has in terms of bonded debt will be retired in the year 2030, which is 14 years from now. And so we are on a very short payment schedule at the same time that our debt service rate is fairly competitive with other districts surrounding us that finance their debt or repay their debt over a much longer period of time. So appreciate the work that Mr. Martin has done over the years, and as well as the Board of Trustees, to put the district in that situation. So with that said, I'll let Mr. Martin describe the opportunity that's before us.
Thanks, Mr. Ball. Good evening. It's a pleasure to be here. As Mr. Ball said, whether it's a discussion item or just an informational item. Discussion item this evening. We're going to come back to you here with a lot of detail in a month, but this is to make you aware of that we're ready to move forward with this. As Mr. Ball said, you got a double whammy here. This is a plan with you're going to be able to give money back to the taxpayers, and you're going to be able then from the because of the lower interest rate environment that we have now, we're going to save money for the taxpayers as well. So you're giving back, and from surplus fund balance, giving that back to the taxpayer and keeping those tax rates low and being able to save them money moving forward as well, while not extending the term at all. We're watching interest rates closely, and as Mr. Ball said, you should have just made this presentation. This was planned. We had these 2007 bonds, a significant portion of those bonds that were eligible for refunding. They were already refunded in 2007. You can only do that once on an advance basis, so they are a current refunding that we couldn't be able to touch until May of this year. So that's the biggest part of this. And then as we started looking at the rest of the portfolio, there are a number of other series that make a lot of sense to go ahead and refund now and take advantage of these lower interest rates. Again, we'll be back to you April 18th with a lot more detail and a parameters type bond order to show you with different thresholds to meet that you all are used to seeing when we do these refinancing type transactions. Happy to answer any questions.
Question? Yes.
I think my question is for Mr. Ball. So you said we're using 7.25 from our fund balance, but what about, does that include, or is that in addition to the monies that we were stashing, leaving our debt service rate the same?
That's the additional that little incremental tax levy generated was $7.25 million.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you so much. We'll see you next month.
Yep.
All right. We'd like to invite Mr. Garrett up, talk about MOUs.
Good evening, Ms. Sheffield, members of the board, Dr. Rogers. Real quick, wanted to bring this discussion item for the interlocal agreement with the City of Lewisville to get the SRO at the Lewisville Learning Center. We've been working very closely with the Lewisville Police Department to get this process moved through quickly. Our ultimate goal is to get this in front of you for action next month, as well as City Council action. The police department feels they can move very quickly once all the agreements are signed so that we can get them in within a week or two of signatures. Just a reminder, this agreement lines them up with all the other agreements that we've been using with the cities, provides information for the ability for our principals to provide input in selection, evaluation, and firms up some of those items as well. And the other important thing is this is a budgeted item. There will be no need for additional funding just because while it was budgeted in our year, we weren't able to fill it due to staffing levels and budget planning from the city since our fiscal years don't line up, but they are able to fill it now, and we'll be working to get it done very quickly.
Thank you. Very excited to see this coming. Any other questions or any questions? Okay, thanks so much.
Have a good night.
All right, Ms. Rapp, GT update.
Yes, we are so excited this evening to share with you a dedicated group of people that have been working over the last several months, and they've been anxiously awaiting. Why don't all of y'all stand up? You've waited all this time. Here they are. So just a few points of background real quickly about, of course, we started this GT task force process in response to the audit that we presented on last January. The audit recommended that we convene a task force to work on a comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan was to establish the mission, vision, goals, and priorities for the gifted and talented services within our school district, and then create those clear linkages between the program plan, the state plan, and our district strategic design. The task force worked diligently throughout the months of September through February to create the plan that you had in your documents to look at. And so I'm happy to ask Ms. Naseem Razvi and Paige Chauvin to start us off and share a little bit about our process.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for having us. I've stood before this board many times. I've sat on several committees. I've sat on several other places that I've been here. I can tell you that this committee, by far, has been the most interactive and the best committee that I have sat on for LISD. I want to thank Dr. Brockman. I want to thank Lori and their team behind us, Sharon and Debbie, for putting together a team that you name one kid in LISD, and I can tell you someone on this committee that had them in mind in every meeting that we were at. Whether it be Mr. Watson and all of his fine arts kids, whether it be my STEM kids at Career Center, whether it was an elementary, middle, or high school kid in any of our feeder patterns, there was someone in the room thinking of that kid specifically when we put this together. So I just want to thank them for putting that together and really giving us something that engaged us, that helped us. And as we looked at the paperwork tonight, we went, oh my goodness, this is really what we did the last 6 months. So thank you, Dr. Brockman, for inviting us to even be a part of this great plan.
I agree with Paige. Thank you to all of you for letting us do this. It's been long overdue in the district. I was asked to speak to you about what I like about the plan. Well, I like that there is a plan to start with. We love that. And I want to address the mission and the vision. We use words like empower, ignite, and embrace. These are the three key words that are going to apply to the students in this program. They can finally GT students can finally be empowered to have their learning, their passion for learning ignited, and to embrace the differences and the passions that they have for learning. So thank you to all of you for that.
Good evening, school board members, Ms. Sheffield, Dr. Rogers. I'm Amanda McKnight. I'm a LEAP teacher at Briar Hill Middle School.
And I'm Dulcie Coonrod, and I'm a LEAP teacher at Griffin Middle School. Just as a city requires solid infrastructure in order to run smoothly, so too does any initiative in education. That is why a crucial component of our vision for GT education and LISD involves staffing. In order to make our vision for GT services a reality, we must put in place the staffing necessary to support, guide, and lead our teachers, students, and community.
The GT staffing we're proposing will encompass zone and campus needs and make other goals achievable, especially in regards to the expansion and individualization of GT services for our students. Our action steps include developing staffing formulas to address campus needs at the elementary level, while expanding leadership roles at the middle and high school levels through the creation of campus liaisons who would serve as touchstones and communicators for the other teachers on their campuses. We suggest tapping into the GT experts already in place on campuses to take on these campus leadership roles, which would be compensated through stipends. We also are recommending additional leadership being installed at the zone level to assist in coordination between campuses and between elementary, middle, and high schools.
In essence, expanding the services that we provide to our students also means expanding the network of support that we provide to our educators.
Thank you.
Okay, goal number 2, the first word is the most important, multifaceted. GT students will receive individualized services through multifaceted programming and differentiated services. And that's the goal. And the first line of the objective, it has to do with K-12, not elementary, because this applies to everybody. The written, instructed, and assessed curriculum is differentiated based on the needs of the GT learner. Now, in the past, we always thought of GT as just being LEAP, pre-AP, AP. We're talking about, with multifaceted, that everybody has to have some training. Coaches, band directors, whoever, everybody who interacts with the students. So in middle school, when the courses start getting a little bit more individualized, like English and math and everything else, we have to devise courses that meet the social, emotional, and educational needs. And I've heard socio-emotional from the Kilo folks earlier. So that's really important, especially in those middle school years, because people are just trying to find themselves. And then as we go to high school, we can expand this into the Career Center, mentorships, electives, fine arts, athletics. And in order to do that, we're going to need to probably have some professional learning for people who normally would not do that as thinking of themselves as teaching GT. They're everywhere. Dr. Brockman and Lori brought some students in front of us, and I saw a drummer from Flower Mound and a singer from the Colony, and so everybody's involved in it. And so this is why multifaceted is very important.
Good evening, members of the board, Mrs. Sheffield and Dr. Rogers. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you, Dr. Brockman and Ms. Rapp. So with identification being a crucial part, it's accurate identification of GT students that's really an important goal of ours on the GT task force. Serves as a critical component to the ultimate success of all of our GT students. Successful implementation of consistent, individualized, and equitable GT services in our district begins with this step as part of a strong foundation in which we can build upon. As professional educators, we are passionately committed to meeting the needs of all of our elementary and secondary students. At the elementary level, GT learners benefit from an advanced critical thinking enrichment activities provided by GT facilitators and cluster teachers. At the secondary level, GT learners benefit from an enriched and rigorous academic environment with like-minded peers through the LEAP program and specific GT core classes. With a student population as culturally diverse and growing as ours, casting a wider net will help us maintain consistency and equity in the implementation of GT services. A more comprehensive identification process will help us ensure we capture the wide variety of gifted attributes our students possess as they continue to develop and mature. An example of that includes where at the middle school level, right now we're only identifying 6th graders, unless they're recommended at the 7th or 8th grade level by a teacher. But teachers who oftentimes aren't trained to identify GT students on a regular basis. We do have access to some amazing resources. The COGAT, which is a standardized assessment that measures cognitive achievement in 3 different levels. And we also have the NAT, which is a kind of a wider screening process. And we are utilizing that at the 6th grade level and in elementary. We can expand that even further to reach other students who are more culturally diverse, which all these assessment tools allow us to do. But we have a lot of great things in place, and we're looking forward to building upon that. Thank you.
Good evening. Our fourth goal is the service plan. Our GT students have unique needs and abilities and will receive an individualized service plan. This will be developed with input from the students, staff, and faculty. Our vision is that these plans will better meet the social, emotional, and educational needs of our GT students.
Good evening. I'm Dana O'Neill. I have 2 GT students at Liberty Elementary School and 1 GT student currently at Shadow Ridge School. We felt that the service plan was an important part of the task force to create a sustainable system for our students. This process is successfully exercised in our district for other specific populations, frequently referred to as an IEP. Currently, we felt as a whole that with students transitioning year to year with multiple teachers, pull-out programs, GT-identified classrooms, AP classrooms, general ed classrooms, fine arts, and all the other classrooms, that no path, no thread was in place for our students to be connected with the parties involved in their education. The foundation for success moving forward for all LISD GT population would involve individualized service plans with contributions from family, educators, and our administration.
Good evening. I'm just going to say I'm so happy to stand up and kind of wiggle. That's the GT in me, so thank you. We're here to talk about professional learning as one of our primary goals. And what I'm excited about is not only that the conversation continues. It started a couple years ago. Thank you for the audit. We've made some great partnerships, had very rich conversations. But our professional learning plan would be one that would be systematic in approach and allow for us to differentiate for our teachers, the expert versus the novice, as we want them to differentiate for our students. So having that support with staffing, learning, et cetera, will help us differentiate for our teachers' needs, just as we do for our student needs.
What Debbie and I both have done is with my position, starting as secondary, so thank you for that, is that we've already been able to start differentiating our training to elementary and secondary. And what that has enabled us to do is that when we're targeting our teachers at that point, so that I'm working with the middle school and high schools and Debbie working with the elementary schools, is that we're able to make sure we're meeting their needs at a greater depth so that they can turn around to meet the needs of our students. And so we are extremely excited about that differentiation in regards to what we're able to do. And then just really a clear understanding, as what was mentioned previously, is that if we engage the students and we engage the teachers, we're only going to have great results.
Good evening. I'm Jill Adams. I'm currently a counselor at Marcus High School. In this district, I've served as a middle school teacher, a cheer coach, a middle school counselor, and now a high school counselor, and I'm also a parent of a pre-K student and a second grader, so who is going through the GT testing process at this time. Those of you that know me, I'm very passionate about parent education and family involvement and community partnerships. I feel that it's a strength that we have in this district with so many different community partnerships and so many families that we bring into our schools to be involved. As we talked about all the goals, this was integral in every goal that we discussed, getting the parents information, education, involved, and utilizing all of the wonderful resources we have in our community. When we talk about multifaceted approaches to our GT students and allowing them to explore their passions, the ideas of mentorships, job shadowing, internships, frankly gave me chills to think about what's in store for our students in this district. I think that the sky's the limit when it comes to that. We start with where we're at and we just go from there when we start involving and training all of the people around us. So, thank you.
Good evening. I am Lisa Curry, the counselor at Dale Jackson Career Center. And what we are most optimistic about is that through the Gifted and Talented program that we have worked on, that students will be able to receive the support and services that they need to be successful, unwrap their gifts, and showcase their talents.
And I'd just like to echo and finalize the sentiments of our group. We do thank you all for the opportunity to work together all bringing different experiences to the table and opening frank and important discussion. So Dr. Brockman, thank you for the opportunity, and Lori, thank you for the opportunity as well. And thank you guys for listening to us this evening. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much. Do we have any questions for this group? Ms. Vaughn?
I just wanted to thank all of you. This is exciting. I know I'm on the board committee for curriculum, so Christy and Ms. Hassett and Ms. Sheffield and I were able to meet with Ms. Rapp and talk about this a little bit too. And I see, and we've discussed this, and just wanted to say out loud that this will benefit all of our students. And I've said this many times over my short 3 years of service, that we have 53,000 talented students, which you all agree. And so I'm excited to see how that we can engage all the students through what we're learning through this process. So thank you all.
Yeah, Mr. Miller?
It's been a long time coming for this presentation, as many of the staff, and I'm sure, and I know parents, and many of the parents that aren't even not here. So it's good to see that the investment we made in the audit and the work that you're doing collaboratively is paying off. The one thing that was said very quickly that caught my attention was the recommendation of a stipend. So that's something that I'm eager to talk to Ms. Rapp about. The only reason I raise that is I definitely am a believer that the gifted students are kind of a special needs students, that they need to be serviced differently. And I'm certainly not the expert on, whether they're 100% pull out or, it's a combination. And I know you guys will work through that. But I do want to make note that this by no means is an isolated discussion where we're just focused on GT, and we're not going to forget about the magic middle, and we're not going to forget about the special education. And so as you look at how you weave into the daily routine of teachers who are not GT teachers, as you talked about, there's a pretty big responsibility on them as well, because they've got the kids that are GT and they've got the special needs kids, and depending on whether it's elementary or middle school or high school, elementary, it's kind of a potpourri of they don't have as many options. So just really excited. Those are just a few observations, and I assume we'll approve something soon, or maybe the next step is Lori's just going to have you do it. So, but thank you for all your work. I know this has been a long time coming for many, many people, and looking forward to seeing this through and for it to being a success in its implementation next year.
And Mr. Miller, I will say, because in the context of our discussion, one of the things was that even as a committee, as they were looking at new ideas, that it had to be framed in the context of a budget. I mean, there was some realistic considerations there in terms of we don't have the money tree in the backyard, unfortunately. So no, we don't.
That's how Mike Ball. He brought one with him.
So I do know that even in those conversations that they've been very, the budget has been at the front of the discussion as well. I will say also, just as serving on that committee, that we're really excited and really proud of the work that y'all have done, but just excited about some of what's coming in the future in terms of really, I think, identifying more students and in different areas. And just some neat things happening there. So thank you, because I know it was a lot of work on your part. So thank you for the commitment. It was great to hear Ms. Chauvin say that it was, that's always nice feedback to hear as well, that, the time you spend has been worth it. So thanks for letting us hear that as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so next we have Dr. Brockman and our Policy F series.
All right, the policy saga continues, and I cannot compete with the LHS Kilo presentation, nor the enthusiasm of our GT task force. So here we go. Tonight's tale of F policies deal with the exciting options of revision, deletion, and replacement. And there you go. Remember that we're bringing a different group of policies to you each month that we have through the audit or policy review process, have found that need to be changed. We are also combining with these policies identified in the audit, policies identified in Update 103. So we have a combination again tonight. And I'm telling you, we're expecting Update 104 at any moment. So for the ones that were identified in the audit, FDA local on inter-district transfers is up for revision. Needed to highlight that the district does not accept inter-district transfers except for employees, children, or children of the employees of our major contractors for transportation, food service, and custodial services. The other piece that was needed here was removal of the revocation provision to be in compliance with TEA Commissioner decision a few years ago. That provision that we had in place was contrary to that decision. FEF local on attendance and release time is recommended for deletion. It no longer reflects district practice, especially in the area of private lessons. And frankly, this is something that doesn't need to be dealt with in policy. It needs to be in student handbooks. FFAA local, wellness and health services, physical exams. This is recommended for replacement. The way it is stated now, UIL can continue to change their definition of a healthcare provider without us continuing to have to change policy to match, which is a goal as we go through the audit to try and make some of our things a little more immune to having to be constantly changed. FFAC local, wellness and health services, medical treatment. This one is up for revision to be aligned with practice in the district, as well as remove some items on such as self-administration of medication by students to student handbooks and district guidelines where they're more appropriate than policy. The next one is FFD local, student welfare and student insurance. Recommended revision is taking out the paragraph about the district may purchase insurance against bodily injury sustained by students while training for or engaging in interscholastic athletic competition. That's already stated in legal policy, so it doesn't need to be repeated. We're not changing anything. We just don't need to repeat. FJ on gifts and solicitations, recommended replacement to clarify about outside organizations and their role in fundraising. This also takes this from a locally developed policy to one that is developed by TASB, which in the long run saves us money. Every time a policy is updated that is locally developed, it costs us more money than a policy that is a TASB standard version. So we want to save those locally developed policies for those where it really, really matters. FL local on student records, just some clarifying language about the role of the superintendent, as well as changing from trustee to board member to be more aligned with other policy. It's a style difference, so while we were in there updating the policy anyway. The only other change is on district directory information, if you will, about students. We were missing a critical piece that had been updated a few years ago and we had missed as a district, and that is enrollment status. So you'll see in that whole list of items, enrollment status is added there. FMH local on student activities and commencement, just changing to reflect actual district practice. FNAA local, student expression, distribution of non-school literature. This is up for a revision. An important distinction here, this is distribution of non-school literature on non-campuses. So on the campus, it's within the control of the principal. On non-campuses, we've changed from a specific title to superintendent or designee. We're trying to do that in as many places as possible. So as titles change, for instance, this one was assistant superintendent for student services. As titles change, the superintendent or designee doesn't change. FNAB, local student expression, use of school facilities for non-school purposes. Again, the only change here is on the second page, and that is instead of assistant superintendent for student services, going with superintendent or designee to grant us the greatest amount of flexibility. FNCA on student conduct dress code, removing the section on violations and prescribed discipline measures. That really belongs in our student code of conduct handbooks, matrix, etc. FNCE, local. This is our personal telecommunications, electronic devices for student conduct. Again, this change is recommended to align with district practice. This was the $15 cell phone fee, which we have not charged for some time. So we needed to change policy to reflect that. FNF, local. Student rights and responsibilities, interrogations and searches. This had provisions in it, the old version, specific to LISD that dated over 20 years ago and did not necessarily align with our practice today. The TASB standard version worked very well for us in all but one area. So we've added the piece about DAEP and the metal detectors at DAEP. That was not accurately reflected in the old version of the policy. And finally, before I turn it over to Mr. Bonner, FOD local on student discipline and expulsion. This policy is recommended for deletion. It's really repetitive. It's on the appeal process for disciplinary placements, which is already completely spelled out in the student code of conduct, which is approved by the board, so it has the same weight as policy. I will tell you that three additional F-Series policies have some significant revisions from the audit, FD local, FFC local, and FFH local. However, they're also in Update 104, so our TASB policy consultant was melding together our desired changes as well as the Update 104 provisions. They will come to you separately when 104 is released within a few days, we think. So, Mr. Bonner.
Thank you, Dr. Brockman. There's a couple of items that were in Update 103, which were not part of the audit that I'll cover. FEA local on compulsory attendance enacts the legislative change to making age of required attendance up to 18 and provides opportunity for, of course, 19-year-olds to be in attendance as well. It limits the district in any sort of truancy filing on a 19-year-old, but it does plan and provide for a plan for withdrawal due to non-attendance of school in FEA local. The last item is FEC local attendance for credit on attendance committees. It lays out that per state law, if a student is not in attendance 90% of the days, an attendance committee will convene, review the situation, review the case, determine what must be done to obtain credit moving forward, and work with the student and family to put a plan in place to do so. A couple of further items on that. It clarifies what I know has been our district's practice in ensuring that the best interest of the student is served. It was in the policy before as an enumerated item, and this pulls it out and puts it in the header to make sure that we're clear on what our intent is. And then lastly, in that policy, it provides for an appeal process for anybody that disagrees.
We have reviewed these revisions with the board policy committee. We worked on that and worked through all of these policies.
Are there any questions? Okay, I have just a few. On FL local, and you may not know this right now, and I know that we exchanged some emails, so I apologize if you've already replied back to me. But, we talk about a parent may continue to have access to his or her child's records after the student has attained 18 years of age or attending an institution. How long do we hold records?
That was one of those items that I referred to Mr. Ellington, and he did respond. I've got to get it to you tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm sorry for the delay
No,
on that.
that's fine. Okay, I was just curious about that.
Mr. Ellington, what's the answer on retaining of student records? Yeah, indefinite.
So discipline records, is that a requirement by this? Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, so then my next question, and we had a little bit of discussion about this, was the FNCE local, about the district shall not charge a fee. I just really don't see that as a policy. To me, that's more of a administrative guideline, and you know my feelings on that. But I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that was any discussion y'all had as a policy committee. I just don't. To me, I understand why it's there. I understand why we added it. I understand that we went away from charging because we allow students to bring devices. However, if a student is not using their device appropriately and it gets taken up, I don't see why, if the campus wants to, or if I know there's a lot of other pieces to that, but.
Actually, that policy used to be law as far as us being able to charge. First off, it started with pagers, and then it started with mobile devices, so that tells you how dated that law was. But certainly, our move in policy is what we don't need in board policy, we can still put in administrative guidelines, and so that would be something that we will consider.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. If there are no other questions, then we will move on into our action items. Mr. Ball. Yes. Yes, Mr. Ball. Let's have a discussion.
The next item is the consideration of approving the recommendation on RFP number 2444-16, which is custodial cleaning services. And so I'd like to give the board a little bit of background information on the process that we've been through in this item. We've sent out 32 proposal notifications to entities in this business. We received 5 proposals as a result of this request for proposals, and we had a committee comprised of 4 district administrators from across the grade spans, and our purchasing staff formed a committee to evaluate these responses and spent a considerable amount of time, multiple meetings, really analyzing in great detail all of the various components of these 5 proposals that were received. And the recommendation that's being made by this committee and the administrative staff is that the district does make a change and award the business to GCA Services Group. And with that said, let me talk a little bit about what that would look like if the board were to approve this recommendation. As I already mentioned, we had a committee of users, of customers, so to speak, of the custodial services with the task of evaluating the proposals. We had a great deal of concern for the actual custodial staff, and for that reason, we have actually kept this recommendation confidential up until this moment, and we wanted the board to hear this recommendation from the administrative staff. We did not want to create confusion or anxiety among the custodial staff. And so the Sodexo people, the incumbent contractor, we're very grateful for the work that they have done and the manner in which they have worked with us. And normally we would want to notify a contractor of this kind of recommendation. But we made the decision to not do that in the interest of being able to communicate to the custodial staff in a very orderly and manner that's considerate of what it impacts their careers. And so the recommended vendor has agreed to hire all of the existing staff who pass the criminal background check. That's a requirement of law. And we would assume that all of them would, unless the isolated circumstance would occur where there's been an offense somewhere that has not been reported since the last time their background was checked. They've also agreed to match the wages of the existing employees and not to reduce those. So our concern has been that if we did recommend a change, that it would be a very seamless transition for those custodial staff who wanted to make that transition. And then looking at the bottom line, we certainly do not make this recommendation lightly. The difference in the proposals was a little over $1.2 million from the recommended vendor to what our incumbent vendor has proposed for next year. And so this committee of administrators and our purchasing folks looked at all of these factors, really paid a lot of attention to what will this look like for the custodial staff and what will it look like in terms of the staffing level. The recommended vendor has also agreed to keep the staffing level at the same level in terms of the actual folks doing the custodial work. This is their core business. That's what they do. They're in several large districts in our area. They do Plano, Garland, Allen, Northwest, and Argyle ISD that we're aware of. And we have checked references both in-state and out-of-state. They do some work in Tennessee. We've checked that. And so we just really know of no reason not to recommend to the board that we make this change that would save the district in excess of $1 million for the 16-17 fiscal year. And so that's the recommendation, and certainly we would be happy to answer any questions the board might have about the process. And certainly if the board approves this recommendation tonight, we will start tomorrow on a plan to communicate to the custodial staff and really assure them that we will do everything we can do to make the transition smooth. And we're confident, based on the relationship we've had with Sodexo, that they will work with us in a professional manner to execute the transition in a smooth and professional way. So I'll be happy to answer any questions the board members might have. Ms. Sheffield.
All right, thank you, Mr. Ball. Ms. Cox?
I just have a few questions, and first of all, I'd like to hear from some of the committee people to see. I know we've had some concerns in the past, and I wanted to see if those were addressed in the committee. And I know it is a lower bid, and I always love saving the district money, but I don't want to sacrifice the level of service. So I'd like to hear from some of the committee and see what their thoughts were.
We had similar concerns about staffing. The amount of staff, custodial staff, will remain the same. Plus the guarantee that their salaries wouldn't be reduced. It would at least stay the same, if possibly not increase somewhat through evaluation through a year's time span.
Well, we know there was a concern. I think for all the all the vendors we talked with, one of the things, of
questions I got asked from everyone is, what are we doing about, shortages, and how are we going to guarantee, retention of either retention of staff or even just keeping staffing levels where they need it to be. They all know that, they're still all drawing from the same labor pool. They're fully aware of that. We have many other businesses around us, so obviously between the job fairs, the Craigslist, references, and the like, they're using those resources, those venues, to try to do it. We've also put something in the bid as well, some languages as far as either compensation for shortages and all that. Will be addressed in a little bit more detail if and when that should occur. But we're excited, about the hiring of existing employees, the matching of the wages, and just the ability for them to offer benefits, and so we are looking just for a great transition with the new company.
Any other comments from the committee? No? Okay. I know, but I don't.
How long is this contract going to be for? Is this just a year?
It's a series of 1 year. It's 4 1 year deal, so we can renew and have the option or to either renew or not renew each year.
Okay. Like our other contracts, right? Okay. Mr. Greenwell?
The process was very interesting and very thorough. As a member of the committee, I believe that we asked a lot of questions, a lot of important questions. They were answered by all of the vendors that we visited with. The purchasing leadership on this committee was outstanding. I felt that we were very communicated with throughout the entire time, and that, again, all of our questions that we brought to the table to be asked about were vetted through the process.
Thank you. Ms. Cox, was that it? Okay. All right. Ms. Hassett?
I just have a few questions on the criteria, the evaluation criteria. I know they all scored high, even GCA scored 12 out of 15, but they were second lowest on reputation and quality. I just want to make sure that that wasn't a concern of you while going through this whole process, that they were the lower on those two qualities.
Well, I think that was the benefit of reaching out and checking the references with some of our surrounding districts, with the Garland and with Plano. Very districts certainly in comparable size to Lewisville, as well as the number of years that they had been at those districts. So I think we felt certainly a confidence level of that they've been able to perform that job successfully surrounding districts. And so,
thank you for all your hard work.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. Do I have a motion? Thank you, Ms. Latham.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Miller. That's a motion by Ms. Latham and a second by Mr. Miller. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor? That's unanimous. All right, moving on to our second item. Mr. Ball?
Thank you, Ms. Sheffield. This item is a deductive change order and a final closeout of the construction project involving Kamey Elementary School replacement. The deductive change order is a decrease of $316,857, which is unused contingency funds, making the total cost of that project of $20,488,418. And it's the recommendation of the administration that the board approve this deductive change order and the final closeout of this project.
Okay, are there any questions? All right, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Cox. It's a motion by Ms. Latham, a second by Ms. Cox. Any questions? All those in favor? And that too is unanimous. Moving on to item number 3, Dr. Brockman.
Item number 3 deals with the District of Innovation resolution. I would like to take a couple of minutes to explain this and the process, as this did not come through information and discussion. District of Innovation designation is allowed under new legislation this last legislative session, and the innovation plans are essentially about local control. A district innovation can be exempt from certain requirements imposed by state law. Those exemptions may include uniform start date, minimum minutes of instruction, the 90% attendance rule, benefits, appraisals, contracts, campus decision-making restrictions, certain budgeting requirements, and some student discipline laws. However, a district of innovation cannot seek exemption from an equally long list of options. We still have to have an elected board of trustees. The powers and duties of school boards, superintendents, and principals are still in place. We would not be eligible for exemption from PEIMS, curriculum and graduation requirements. Accountability and student assessments would still be in place. Financial accountability and related reporting, open meetings acts, public purchasing laws. In order to be eligible for a distinction as a district of innovation, our most recent academic performance rating must at least be acceptable, which we are. So we would be eligible if we were interested. There are not currently proposed or approved commissioners' rules for a district of innovation process or elements. However, our guidance has been not to wait. Don't feel like you have to wait for commissioners' rules to come out, because the legislation itself was very detailed on the process, so we could go ahead and move forward with the process. The process begins with the board passing a resolution, which is what we brought forward to you tonight. The board resolution would merely allow us to start looking at this as an option for the district. It in no way commits us to anything. It's like starting the race. We then promptly have to hold a public hearing by the school board to allow public comment. We're envisioning that prompt public hearing would be at the April board meeting. Again, at that point, there is no proposed innovation plan. It's solely about the district pursuing a distinction of district of innovation. At that time, if the board has approved the resolution and the public hearing goes well and we decide to move forward, we would then develop a committee to begin looking at options of a plan. What would we want to include from that list? What would we not want to include? The plan would need to include a comprehensive description of the education program with the innovations we're talking about, as well as a specific list of education code provisions for which we would want to be exempted. Once that proposed plan is developed by the committee, it has to be posted online for 30 days. We have to send it to the commissioner. No approval is required, but we just have to send it. And the district advisory committee, that committee, holds a public meeting and passes the plan by a majority vote. It still then has to come to the board, and the board then has to approve the plan by a 2/3 majority in order to go into effect. Once the plan is approved by the board, it goes into effect immediately and is good for 5 years. While there is not necessarily provision for the commissioner to reject the plan or to at some point in the future come back and say that your plan is no longer valid or in continuation, there is some feeling that if at some point the district lost its acceptable or met standard rating as a district, the plan would be in jeopardy of continuing. I've asked a number of questions from a number of sources regarding the District of Innovation, and there are opportunities for adjusting, modifying the plan as you go, and there's been quite a bit of discussion about what you start with as an initial plan may not end up being your ultimate plan. You can follow the same steps to add more to your plan as you see fit. This is not a fast process. No district that I have talked with that has done this has done it quickly. But it is one that we can start embarking on if we are interested. The resolution written without the whereases. A possible resolution is attached for your consideration, and that would merely get the ball rolling, if you will. And I'd be happy to answer or try to answer any questions that you have.
Any questions? Mr. Miller?
I'll let Ms. Hassett go first.
Okay, Ms. Hassett.
How are we going to notify the public of our public hearing next month, just to make sure that we have a wide variety of people?
We have guidelines on how we publicize public hearings for other topics. We would use much the same. Broad advertisement, if you will, on campus websites, social media.
Regular, normal things. And even though this will eventually cause Mr. Bonner some more work with policy changes, I'm very excited this is coming forward.
Okay. Mr. Miller?
While I don't disagree with Ms. Hassett, I don't see anything in here that suggests a benefit to us. And where I'm going with this is we have a lot of stuff going on. And we have talked in various meeting venues about all the things going on in the district and priorities, and the process laid out here seems very onerous. The benefits, according to this, are it may include, which we know what that means with our commissioner or even the new commissioner, doesn't mean much, a uniform start date, minimum minutes of instruction. I'm not sure why we'd want to reduce the minutes of instruction, what's wrong with them today. The 90% attendance rule, teacher contracts, benefits, appraisals. What is it about these things that, while I understand local control, but what is it about these things that are really going to benefit us and the amount of time it's going to take to go through this process?
Mr. Miller, I'm going to answer that question as best I can, so I'll take Dr. Brockman off the hook. We absolutely agree with your initial look at the document, but what we see is a chance to not focus on that because it just says may include these. We see as a broader opportunity. For instance, we want to explore the possibility for blended learning and whether or not kids can take more than one online class during the high school day and yet us receive full ADA. That's not on the list, but that's an example. So some examples not on this list that we're going to at least explore and see what options there are to truly be more innovative in some other ways. So, yeah, the things that you listed, we're really not interested in.
So I'm okay, voting to move forward because this is an action item, right? I just want to throw this out. While local control is important, there are some downsides to this depending on the makeup of a board, depending on the makeup of an administration. I'm not sure that everything in our hands without limitations or accountability from the state is always the best thing. I don't believe the state should run our education. I think we do, but I just want to make note that there are some checks and balances in place with the state that are beneficial to provide a consistent education across the state of Texas. So we'll get into it as we get closer with the resolution, but the other side of it is this is a pretty big task for the administration to take on, and we are approaching testing season, and we're going to go through our PEMS data in a couple weeks, and we're going to start doing budget workshops. There's a lot of activity going on for us to reconvene on this topic and look at a resolution.
Totally understand and agree. If this resolution tonight tied us into having to do and become a district of innovation, it wouldn't be in front of you. This is just required for us to further investigate whether or not it's an option that we might want to bring to you later.
Ms. Cox?
Dr. Brockman, I know you'd said you were asked to kind of push this forward, but I'm just kind of curious, are there some stringent deadlines or something why this wouldn't go to a discussion and information item first?
I don't know.
We initially, a great question, Ms. Cox. We continue to wait for TEA and to write some guidelines for this. And as Dr. Brockman said, we kept waiting, and finally the experts at TEA said, don't wait on us to. So because it's not requiring for us to actually do anything, just because we sign or you agree to the resolution tonight doesn't bind us into becoming a district of innovation. We just wanted to go ahead and get started to where we can further investigate whether or not it's something we want to do or just scrap in the future. But we have to have the resolution before we can further investigate it.
Anyone else? Oh, Ms. Vaughn?
Ms. Cox, I appreciate you asking that, and I feel like that this is kind of a different process. So with the public hearing and all that, it would be a time for us to discuss. So this is kind of just to get the ball rolling. But thanks for asking.
Well, and to me, I think the piece of this that it's really, again, we're not committing to anything other than to explore, and that's really all that this resolution does, and it's a requirement by the state in order to do it. I think it actually ties in perfectly to where we are in our district in terms of looking at choice options for students, and so I think it, like I said, I think it's great that we're just at least opening the door to explore. So
there are there are a number of places along the way where it can come to a halt.
Right.
And on the flow chart that I included, there are several specifically laid out.
Right. Okay, thank you. If there are other questions,
I was going to make a motion.
Okay, Ms. Vaughn?
Ms. Sheffield, I move that we adopt the resolution to become a district of innovation.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Do I have a second? Second. Thank you, Ms. Latham. The motion by Ms. Vaughn, a second by Ms. Latham. Any other further comments? All those in favor? And that's unanimous. All right. Our next items, I don't know, what?
Joint election.
Right, yeah. Is the joint election contract between us and Denton County?
Ms. Sheffield, I make a motion that we consider approval of joint election with Denton County for the May 7th trustee election.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Any other comments or questions? Okay. All those in favor? That's unanimous. The next item is also joint election between us and Tarrant County. Do I have a motion?
Ms. Sheffield, I also make a suggestion that we consider approval of joint election agreement between LASD and Tarrant County for the May 7th trustee election.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. And that was a second by Mr. Miller. Oh, my goodness. All right. That's a motion by Ms. Latham and a second by Mr. Miller. Any other questions, comments you have on that one? All those in favor? And that's unanimous. All right. This next item is for us to consider casting votes for Region 11 Education Service Center Board of Director candidates for Place 3 and Place 6. This is actually one we will not take board action on because these are, I called Region 11 today, we have individual ballots. We don't vote as a board, so therefore there is no board action to be taken. We were given information about each of the 2 Place 6 candidates, which is the only one that's contested. All of us, I believe, know Kathy Bryce. She's been in our district. Ms. Timish may not know her. But, but anyway, so she's uncontested. The other 2 are contested. I have to say I don't have really any other information to share other than what was given to you. And so I will pass these out at the end of the meeting. You can cast your ballot, and then if I can collect those, we will turn those back into Region 11. Are there any other questions about that? Okay. Like I said, there's no action to be taken on that because those are individual votes. All right. So next, HASB Board Policy B Series, Dr. Brockman. Let's just skip because we've had this in discussion. We can probably skip. Are there any questions about?
Oh, but Ms. Sheffield, I would like to make a motion.
Yeah.
You have to make a motion. To
Ms. Latham.
approve the TASB Board Policy B Series as Ms. Brockman presented to us last month.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. Do I have a second? Thank you, Mr. Miller. A motion by Ms. Latham, a second by Mr. Miller. All those in favor? That's unanimous. All right. Moving to consent, are there any items we need to pull? Ms. Cox?
Item number K25.
Wait, K25? Okay. Is that it? Any other? Okay, K2C5 and K2D5. Are there any others? Okay. Could I have a motion to approve all those, except
Ms.
those
Sheffield, I
exempt?
make a motion to approve all the consent agenda items with the exception of K2C5 and K2D5.
Thank you, Ms. Latham. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Vaughn. Any other comments, questions? All those in favor? That is unanimous. All right. And Ms. Cox, would you like to make your motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to approve RFP number 245416, Awards Banquet Facility Products and Services.
Thank you, Ms. Cox. Do I have a second? Thank you, Ms. Latham. And Ms. Cox, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I think that as we see the different options that we have for the district and as we're trying to save money and be conscious of our spending, I'm not sure why we couldn't go to the Plano Center, which would be a $20,000 savings for an event that employees do have to pay for to come. And I'm sure the Plano Center is a nice facility as well. And looks like they're offering some of the same options.
And I was also wondering, because we brought this up a couple of years ago about looking to do something different to reduce the cost, and because all of our employees can't attend because there is an expense, and maybe there's a way to combine this with some of the other district-wide events that we've been talking about and save some money. But $84,000, that's a nice teacher salary and then some. And then all of our employees don't get to come. I mean, it's a great event, and the purpose of the event is great, but we've asked a couple of times now, can we do something different to still have the integrity of the event, but not necessarily the expense?
I will tell you, and I'm going to let Dr. Brockman speak as far as the event. I will tell you, Ms. Cox, that we did use the Plano Center one time, probably, I don't know, 5-6 years ago. The staff did not. It's a long way. I mean, it's through a the traffic, and so we did use that facility once. Now, as far as what Ms. Latham you're speaking about, I wasn't in this position, so I might not have known about all that discussion. So I don't know if Dr. Brockman, if you're aware of that, or. I do.
Liz, do you want to? Ms. Haas has really spearheaded this in the communications department, so she can answer any specific questions that you have. I will underscore about the Plano Center facility. One, it was a long trek over there, and feedback just was not very positive many years ago when we held it there. We have had some discussion about alternate types of celebration activities. My understanding has been that we haven't landed on something that everybody's happy with. Oh, I know.
I believe we charge, if you're not receiving an award or you're a former retiree, it's a $35 ticket. Mr. Ball. I mean,
I think that would be a very difficult calculation to make, given all the extra time that teachers put in. I would hesitate to quote an hourly rate.
Well, is there anything that you want to add or say about?
well, I think with Amanda coming on board as our new executive director of communications, she definitely wanted to see how this year's event unfolded because she has a lot of great ideas in the future. However, with our bid coming up and everything going ahead, we decided to continue this year as we've been doing, and but we've also had great working relationship with the Hyatt, and they are substantially cheaper than the other two bidders that we had. And just looking at distance and our relationship with them, we've been received with open arms every year, and we believe it's been a smooth process the last couple of years. We're willing to look at other options in the future for sure, but that's why this year we're moving forward. However, with the bid coming up, we looked at all the options, we compared all the bids based on our banquet and how they have been going, and this is our selection.
Liz, you
Yes,
may or may not know this, but the $80-something thousand that's budgeted, is that including the amount that the tickets will bring in? Because normally when we bring in funds, we have to budget for the whole amount, and then, because you're going to have to pay for it all at once, even though then you're going to generate some funds. Do you know that or not?
I'm not 100% on that answer. I would love to say so, but
Dr. Rogers, that is the total amount, and we offset that with some ticket sales.
Mr. Miller.
I know, Liz, you're just a messenger. So, so $48,000 for the food. We generate $20,000 to offset that. It's my opinion, if we do have teachers that don't, or staff that don't come because of the money, $20,000 in the scheme of things, we should let them come for free, regardless of whether they're receiving an award, because of the unity that the event creates. And I know we're trying to save money here, and I'm spending money, but I think we should. I just think that if it's cost prohibitive for some, other than if they bring a guest, we should consider letting our staff come for no charge. But we have two things in here, one that are unclear. One is for $16,000, includes all other. So we're paying $40 a plate, and then we pay $16,000, includes all other fees associated with this scope of work. Not sure what that is, because and by the way, they're materially more expensive than the Plano Center.
That has to do with, yeah, I'm trying to find a line number.
Well, there's another one for $20,000 for the audiovisual. So they're $16,000 for. We're paying $40 a plate. Usually, that covers most of the fees, because I'll guarantee you they're not paying $30 a plate to feed us. And then they're charging us $16,000 for something, and then $20,000 for audiovisual. I mean, just tell us where to connect the stuff, and we'll have our folks do it. It just seems that this proposal needs to be scrutinized with the supplier. And maybe it has, but again, I know you're the messenger here, Liz, so those are the questions that I have. I'm not comfortable approving $84,000 without more detailed answers on some of the line items. And I would prefer that our teachers don't have to pay to go to a banquet, that only those that get an award get to go for free is a little, well, I'll just leave it at that.
Ms. Vaughn?
I just can say, with my experience as a board director for Texas PTA and the conventions we have, that the audiovisual is separate and it's very expensive, like very expensive. So it's not part of the plate that you were talking about.
Right, but it shouldn't be $20,000 for a 4-hour event.
Hi, how you doing? Yeah, I stepped away for a second. So as far as the audio video is concerned, I've actually compared all the different options that were on there, and for $20,000, it's pretty consistent for what it is, because they're supplying all the gear for us. It's not necessarily just hooking it up. It's actually supplying all the audio, video, as far as the projectors that take place, the giant screens, setting all those up. It's also the LED lighting that takes place at the event. So if you've been in the previous events, we have everything lit up. It's all that stuff included. It's not just coming up and just saying, here's a CD player and things like that. So that's what it includes. So I've compared all three of them. They're pretty comparable as far as that goes. So as far as the food and things, I'm not sure. Not sure, but
A margin built into that $20,000.
I've looked at it, and I've rented things for other events as well and things like that. There is some room in there, and I've talked them down a couple times on many things. So and there's been some upgrades that they've done. They've given us 4K projectors and things like that have made the event a lot better, I think. So $20,000, I think, is pretty comparable between all three.
Mr. Miller, let me give you an example of the cost of, for instance, when we have commencement in June, at every graduation, we pay $6,500 for 5 times for the use of those big screens that we use at the UNT Coliseum. And we have the choice not to do that, but that's an example of the cost of those. So just to compare.
So this is smaller, and so 3 times more than that.
Are there any other
It is
questions?
our event, so let's let the teachers go for
Also,
free.
did you have another question?
Sorry, just real quick. As far as the graduations go, that's actually done by our students at Dell Jackson and Greg Ruska and his crew. They actually go out and supply all the gear and stuff like that, so it's all the district that supplies all those things. So that fee that's actually gone towards that is actually going straight back to the students and their program and supporting all that scenario. So that's the reason why it's a lot cheaper than it is to actually go to one of these places that's a private organization.
And it's a very different type of AV experience.
Absolutely.
You had another question, Ms. Cox?
And Liz, you may not know this, but the vendors that, well, one, would we not have signed this contract a year ago? I mean, some of these book out, so was that contract not already signed? So that's my first question. The second one is, are these our only options? I mean, have like the Embassy Suites in Grapevine, I mean, there are not, I know there's only limited facilities that can hold 1,000, 1,200 people, but are there not other options?
We've looked into, for instance, possibly like the Gaylord or what have you, just to entertain because it's a little closer. And it's just not an option based on the price. These are the ones that came forward for the bid. And we looked at all the pricing, and based on that, I know you mentioned the Plano Center again. However, with its distance and the past experience there, that's what I've been told, is it was something that we didn't want to consider. And again, with our relationship with the Hyatt Regency and how well they've worked with us and treated us based on their pricing, because the other two are substantially more expensive as well. I've heard the Embassy Suites in Frisco is beautiful and it's a great venue, but their food alone was $18,000 more than the food at the Hyatt Regency.
Yeah, but if their AV is only $2,000, then that offsets the
I
food.
think it was comparable.
And I will say that the Embassy Suites, not all of them have the same size, so of ballrooms available. So the Embassy Suites closest to us is not big enough, does not have a facility big enough. The closest Embassy Suites that would work is the one in Frisco. We just have honestly, we have limited options in this area for a venue of this size.
Is Mr. Martin going to speak?
The guru.
Or are you just getting tired and want to walk around?
It is my understanding that, Ms. Cox, your question, members of the board, was that the dates are filling up. And my understanding, we did put a couple of dates in the document, and the response we got back was at the Hyatt, there's only one of the dates that we requested to everybody was left. So nothing has been signed. So if it were to go, if we were to table it and go back next month, that date might be filled up by then. So.
Well, so we have a new, I know this is run by the communications staff, and we have a new person in place. I don't think it's probably outside the bounds of, I know we've surveyed the staff in the past. I don't think I think, maybe that's something we look at again to see if there are maybe some different ideas about recognition. But I do think employee recognition is important. And I think that, to not approve this, essentially we would be with nothing. And I don't think that's the right thing to do either. So it's my 2 cents.
Ms. Sheffield, may I add a clarification to further address Ms. Cox's question about the contract? I think it should. I want to make sure that everybody understands that the proposal that's before the board is for the banquet that would occur in the spring of next year.
Okay.
The contract for the event for this spring was signed this time and approved last year. So this discussion is about the proposed banquet for spring of 2017. And those are the dates that Mr. Martin was mentioning. We put those dates in the request for proposals, and because these venues book up a year in advance, that's why this is before the board tonight, so that we can get the date secured for the spring of 2017's event.
Okay.
I just want to make, because
Okay.
I'm not going to vote for it,
Okay.
but I want to be clear, we're not voting on whether we're going to have a banquet. We're going to have a banquet. We're voting on a contract for a venue.
Well, we may or may not have a banquet if there are no dates or no venues.
I understand.
Because I
but-
disagree. I mean, I agree with, I don't think the Plano Center is the right option.
Well, it may not be, and you know, I respect how you're going to vote, but the thing is, you've got three other locations that their AV is half or lower than what it is in this center, and it sounds like the Plano Center is an option. So I'm just not convinced that this is, and if Mr. Martin has negotiated this, then so be it, but I'm not convinced that this is the best price.
Any other comments?
Yeah, is this not something, I mean, we couldn't decide one more month. I mean, it's not going to all fill up by next month. I mean,
One day at the DFW Hyde is what they said.
But are we required to commit the $84,000 now, or I'm sure there's a holding fee? We're not going to pay them $84,000 now because we're not going to pay for food a year in advance. Whatever the holding fee is, we can hold it, and I'm sure that there's a refundable deposit. So,
Do you know the answers to those questions?
Well, may I address that, Ms. Sheffield? I think if the board were to approve this tonight, the next step would be to sign a contract with this venue, and the contract will require a deposit, and it will be an enforceable contract to have the event, and there will be some damages if the district were to not go through with the event. So I think the best practice would be to operate on the assumption that if the board approves this item tonight, that action also, in essence, approves conducting the event, because I wouldn't think that we could go out in good faith and sign a contract to hold a date if it's not the intent of the district to move forward with that event.
Mr. Miller?
has this gone through procurement? This has gone through your department?
Bid process.
And that's a great question, Mr. Miller. I think, you know, if you look at the bid tabulation, that's actually what this is, that all of the discussion has centered around the cost of these various items and the comparisons to the Hyatt, which is in the shaded purple there. That is actually the tabulation from the responses we received from the request for proposals that our purchasing department did. So it absolutely has been through the procurement process.
All right, Ms. Hassett.
In future, like next year, is there a way we could have this in January? So in case we have questions or concerns about it, we have enough time to deal with it without hamstringing our location?
Absolutely. I think we can do that on whatever timeline works best for the board.
Not only that, Ms. Hassett, but we'll certainly ask Ms. Merriam and her department and Dr. Brockman to look at what are their options. This is the board's event, so I mean, if the board wants to have a different type of event or change the event, we're certainly open to that.
Okay, we're not going to be coordinating this event.
Just one other, did we look at UNT's facilities?
Sent out the notices to multiple locations. I don't know for sure if UNT was notified.
I'm just curious if they, anybody reached out to, because I know we have a process where we send letters and people respond or don't respond, but we have a relationship with them, and just, it seems like it's close. The other thing is, there's expenses on the employees. Many of them have to valet park. Last year it was raining, so parking in the garage was difficult. There was a big long line. There's just some logistics there that cost people more money to go there. They've got a big banquet room up in the Apogee Stadium that is as big as the room that we rent at the DFW Hyatt or Hilton.
Okay, Ms. Vaughn has a comment.
I would recommend that we pass this and give direction to administration to look at some cost-saving measures for next year, some different, when we do the contract again. But I think it would be a mistake if we didn't pass this tonight.
All right, do we have a motion? Oh, we do have a motion. Thank you. All right, then I think we've asked all the questions we can ask. All those in favor? That is Ms. Vaughn, Ms. Timish, Ms. Hassett, Ms. Sheffield. All those opposed? That's Mr. Miller, Ms. Cox, and Ms. Latham. All right, and next item, Mr. Miller, would you like to make a motion? It's yours.
I know, I'm trying to look at the number.
Okay.
Second.
All right, thank you, Ms. Latham. That's a second by Mr. Miller.
I just wanted to make sure I'm all for this item, but because when it came to additional instructional materials, especially those that are written or in print form, we had pretty significant discussions about anything that was related to Common Core content, and I just, as a reminder, wanted to pull this item, Ms. Rapp, and remind us that we are anything that would have an association there that we can't explain, that we try and avoid it, if possible. So just a reminder from the item we had a couple months ago.
Who is the publisher on this?
So there's several publishers on this one. This bid helps provide for additional materials in the area of fine arts, social studies, exploring Texas. The Exploring Social Studies product is one of the main ones that we purchased off of this bid. It was one that our teacher committees looked at in the instructional materials review process last year, and they wanted this social studies material because it provided extra reading information, extra social studies information beyond just the state adopted materials. But it has gone through our teacher selection teams, and we use it because of its alignment to the Texas Essential Knowledge and Skills, not because of any alignment to the Common Core.
But does it contain lessons in it?
The Exploring Social Studies is Texas specific.
But we have Pearson in here and some other.
Yes.
So we're just going to be conscious of that association.
We'll have to constantly be vigilant about using it because of its alignment to the TEKS and not because of any possible alignment to the Common Core. It does definitely complicate what used to be very easier waters.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? All right, all those in favor? That's unanimous. And if there is no further business, this meeting is adjourned, and the time is now 10:24.